Welcome to Meldon Law and Friends. I am Jeffrey Meldon, founder of Meldon Law, and we have a great show for you today. We're really excited. Before we get into our first guest, I just want to talk about some of the promotions that Meldon Law has. If you go to our Facebook page, Meldon Law, you will see that we're giving away tickets for the basketball game tomorrow night, the NIT versus Iona. Just go to Meldon Law Facebook page and enter the contest, free tickets. It's going to be a great game. And look, the Gators didn't make it into the NCAA tournament. However, maybe we can win the NIT. That would be something. We've also got baseball. Bethune-Cookman is coming up on the 22nd of March, so get tickets for that. And softball is coming up. We're playing Stetson on March 23rd, so check us out. Meldon Law is giving away a lot of tickets. Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, and that's how we score tickets, and we, in turn, give them away to fans. And we like to promote all the Gator events because we are Gators, and we love our Gators, and we want everybody to enjoy the incredible athletes that the University of Florida has on all the programs, the men's and women's. My first guest today is Joe Cirulli, who is the founder of Gainesville Health and Fitness. And Joe is not only a local businessman, but an internationally renowned, I would call him a visionary in the health and fitness industry. Welcome, Joe. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Well, I know that you are internationally famous within your industry, and some people in North Central Florida may not know that Gainesville Health is certainly the number one health and fitness facility in our part of the world. However, I know you've traveled around the world and help others in the industry build their businesses and help many millions of people actually develop healthy lifestyles so that they can live longer in a healthy way.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I have friends all over the world, people I've been able to visit all over the world, spend time with, and it's just been a great experience. As a matter of fact, over the last 30 days, we've had 45 health club owners from around the nation and Canada in the centers having meetings. And matter of fact, I brought them here, big group of them. I brought the Spurriers. And it's just been a great experience all the way around. It's something I love, and I'm able to do it with people that I've been with for years and years and years. Not only staff, but members who have been with me from the beginning. So it's been a great ride all the way through.
Well, let's talk about the beginning because I think I was there. And why don't you talk about how you wound up in Gainesville, Florida?
Well, actually, I had finished my 2 years of college up in upstate New York, and a buddy of mine and I were going to travel around the country before we went back to college. And right when I got time to do it, he decided he wanted to continue on the job that he had gotten with the city that I'm from, a little town called Elmira, New York. Well, we were first going to come down to Gainesville because there was a girl that I went out with up in my hometown that had moved to Gainesville because her brother lived here to go to school. So this was going to be our starting point. So since Johnny, my friend, didn't want to go anymore, I said, well, I'm still going to go down to Florida. I'll stay for 30 days, and then I'll go back home, and I'll go back to work and start saving money and go back to college. So when I came down, actually, I got in here, I remember it was October 27th, 1973, and I arrived like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I went to the apartment and I went to sleep. And when I woke up in the morning, I needed to work out. And just come to find out, her brother was a member of the Steve Spurrier Health Spa. And I asked him if I could go, and I did. And I went to the manager, and I told him, I said, look, I was 19. I only had $400 to my name. I said, look, I can't afford to pay to work out, but I'd be willing to work for free if you'd let me work out for free. And he agreed. So I worked all day. I worked Wednesday afternoons and all day Saturday. And I did that for the month. And then at the end of the month, I decided I'd stay for 30 more days and go home at Christmas. I did, went home at Christmas, and I was going to go back to work with a friend of mine who was a mason. But I remember he said to me, his name was Frankie Savino, and Frankie said, Joe, it's just too freezing up here. He goes, why don't you go back to that Gainesville place till the end of March and then come back and we'll get back to work. And I said, fine. And that's when I came back to Gainesville, and that's the point where I never left.
So did you go back to working at Spurrier's?
Well, Spurrier's was being taken over by another company out of Utah, out of Salt Lake City. And they brought in a new manager, and I went to work with that group. Now, if we want to continue on, over the next 4.5 years, I ended up working for 6 companies that went bankrupt before till I finally got to the point where I said, I think I know how to do this, and I know what mistakes not to make. And that's when the 6th person, when he went bankrupt, I went to him and I said, if I take over your company, would you, and I form a new company, would you leave me alone so I can do it? And he said yes. So that's when I first began. I mean, what most people don't know is I started the entire company with $1,700.
Wow.
But nobody knew I had only $1,700 when I hired everybody to build it. But somehow every week I had enough money coming in through memberships that were being sold to keep paying all the contractors to keep building it.
So where was the location of that?
The very first one that was mine was located in Creekside Mall, and we opened that one in July of 1978, and that's where it began, and then series of expansions and then moving.
Yeah, I remember it because, I was a member very early.
Yeah.
I think I pay $75 a year to renew the membership at...
Well, I honored everybody's membership from all the bankrupt clubs, and I honored it just like the original membership that you bought. So that's why we have it set up now so that no matter what membership you have, when you're done paying for it, you can continue to pay that fee for as long as you want to stay a member, no matter what the cost of living is.
Well, that's pretty cool. I'm membership number 13,001.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, 13,000 sounds like a lot, but I doubt if there's too many numbers lower than that.
No, there's some, but that's a low number.
That's a low number.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so let me ask you, what are some of the mistakes that you identified early on when you had the chutzpah to say, okay, I can do this on my own?
Well, I think a very simple thing to see was lack of integrity with a lot of people that ran those businesses. And I mean, I grew up from a family where you learned integrity. You did what you say you're going to do. You didn't lie to people. Those are some real simple things that I picked up. But probably even a bigger thing was, this is where I was probably so fortunate. I come from a family, I have 7 brothers and sisters, and my father was military, and my mother was a nurse, and we were a very middle-class family. And whenever I thought of life, I thought of the way I saw life growing up, until one day I was sitting in an office, and I opened up a drawer, and there was a book there. It was called The Power of Positive Thinking by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. And I remember I heard about these positive thinking books. I never read one, but let me read it. I started reading it. I was absolutely mesmerized. It talked about people who accomplished these great things by the way they thought. And I'm going through it, and I'm thinking, I have a mind just like these people have. Why can't I do more than what I ever thought? And I set up a goal. It was funny. I set up my first goal, and that was, I was a brand new salesperson, and there were probably 90 salespeople in the company from the different clubs I have. And I said, I'm going to be the top salesperson in the entire company. And 3 months later, I was the top salesperson in the entire company. And when I saw that, it was like, how did that happen? And I said, well, I set the goal, And then I started talking to successful people. I started learning more and more how to become better at what I was doing. And then I accomplished it. And then another major thing happened. I actually started making money. And when I started making money, I thought, this is odd. Once again, there's just things that are in your head. I never thought you could actually make money doing something that you loved doing, because I never saw that. You know, my parents and all my friends' parents, they all worked hard as hell. I mean, they just worked hard. But I can't tell you that when my father retired from the military, that he loved what he did, but he would never stop working to take care of all of us. And so I never saw that. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, you can actually do something you love doing and make money doing it at the same time. And that was another huge eye-opening experience for me. But there are also things that happened. You know, I ended up living in my car. I ended up living in closed-down buildings. I ended up living in health clubs I worked in. And even though people say, get out of that business, it's terrible. I said, no, it's not. It's a great business. Because from when I was a little kid, I'm telling you, 7 years old, I remember, my mother was a nurse. And from when I was a little kid, my mother never stopped telling me, just remember, as long as you have your health, you have everything. I heard that so much. It was so drilled in my head. I mean, I started exercising in front of the TV watching Jack LaLanne when I was 7 years old. And, you know, when I was 8, I saw guys lifting weights. When I turned 9 for Christmas that year, I got my first set of weights. I mean, not only did I set up my own weights in the cellar and started training, eventually I brought all my little friends in. I was teaching all them how to lift weights. So when I went to high school, I took the entire football team to the Y to teach all them how to lift weights. So it was something that I was always passionate about, but I think it was that seed that my mother put in my head. But the other seeds were my father, and that was how hard my father worked. You know, he was never afraid of work. And I think all those things combined, the passion that I had in me, the fact that I loved helping people get in shape, has never left me. I mean, it never left me. I mean, if I see somebody doing something incorrectly, I mean, I sometimes you may not want to go up to some people because they may think they know everything they're doing and they'll be offended if you talk to them. But most people I'll go up to and say, do you mind if I show you a way you can make that a little bit more miserable on yourself, but maybe a little more effective? I still can't stop doing it, even after all these years. And I'm still passionate about my own training after all of these years.
You know, Joe, I'll tell you, you were an inspiration to me because I saw you in your early days when you were at Spurrier's, and then I've followed you over the years, you know, building your business, and it just is remarkable. When I was 49 years old, I said to myself, when I turn 50, I want to be in better shape than I was in 49.
Right.
I went and I hired a personal trainer 3 days a week and started conscientiously working 3 days a week at weight training and keeping in shape. And now, some 28 years later, I still have a trainer 3 days a week, and I still, you know, I do yoga, I do stretching, I do all these different modalities to keep in shape. And I often think about, you know, some of the things that I learned early on, you know, at Gainesville Health and Fitness.
Well, it shows. You've done great. You look great.
So, well, thank you. Now, you know, the first, I call it health club, that I joined was, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, like you. The reason I'm here is the same reason you're here.
Right.
It's too friggin' cold up there. So you go, even now, you know, during the winters, it's brutal. I look at some of the temperatures, you know, it's like -5 and 10, and it's really cold up there. Anyhow, we're blessed to live down here. I remember going into the gym, and, you know, the salesman, you know, showed me around. I must have been 18, 19 years old, and, you know, it was up nearby on the corner in a nearby shopping center, and we were pretty excited. We had a new gym. I went in there. They showed me around this exercise and that exercise, and then I joined. I forget what it was, probably, you know, $40, $50 for a year membership back in 1960s. However, I never followed up on it. And I'd like your perspective on what have you done to encourage people to actually follow up once they join?
Well, that's a humongous thing, and that's actually setting up the facility so that it's easy for them to use. And that starts with the counselor who enrolls them. They're responsible for making sure the initial appointments are set up and that they're brought into the center. You know, we've set up circuits of equipment to make it real easy for people to go through their routines so they don't have to think of everything. How am I going to do this? When I originally set up the gym, and nothing has changed, when I first was saying, okay, I got the equipment, how do I want to arrange it? And I asked myself this question: what would my mother and father do if they walked into a gym? They wouldn't have a clue. So I set up the program that we call the circuits, so they can literally go right down the line and work their entire muscular system. We teach them how to use the cardiovascular equipment. And actually now the thing that I'm working with my marketing department is that we have a video of every single thing inside the center that on a regular basis we'll be sending out to new members so they can say, oh, that's how they do it, in case they didn't ask someone, you know, how to do it. So the first thing is you got to make people feel comfortable, you know, coming into the center. And I think we've done a fairly good job.
Yeah, I think you have. For those of you listening and watching, I think one of the most important things is being able to show up. If people show up and then have a little bit of coaching, it really helps. And I know at Gainesville Health and Fitness, you have a whole team that's dedicated to, number one, teaching people the proper way to do exercises, and number two, inspiring them to continue to do the exercise and show up.
Yeah, and then there's another component to it, and that's all the other programming that we've developed. You know, because someone may get bored doing a certain routine for a X period of time. So we've developed a whole series of boutiques in the facility, different kinds of training programs, and then we allow people to go try it out. Just try it out and see if you like it. And then just recently we built an entire outdoor pavilion called Echo. And it's got a roof, it's 6,000 square feet, built it over the top of a retention pond, didn't take any parking away or anything. And now we're offering all kinds of programming out there too, including classes and stuff, so you can just do different types of routines.
Is that at the main Newberry Road facility?
It's at the main center, yes.
Wow,
yeah.
What a creative way to use a retention pond.
Well,
right?
I've been trying to figure out a way to build something outside forever, but every time I'd look, I'd say, I can't take away the parking, I can't do this, I can't put it there, because then you can't get around it. Then just one day, I'm just sitting there, and I realized maybe over a retention pond, that became
Well, we're going to come back to our session and interview here with Joe Cirulli from Gainesville Health and Fitness, and we'll be back in 60 seconds on Meldon Law and Friends.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere.
If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you. Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder of Meldon Law, and welcome to our great show today. We have Joe Cirulli from the Gainesville Health and Fitness Club. And again, go to Meldon Law Facebook page to get all our free giveaways for Gator basketball, baseball, softball tickets. We love to share tickets with you and also promote the Gator events and let you know when they're going on. Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, and we're very proud of it. And hey, we're blessed. We live in Gainesville, Florida, and we got the Gators, so there's something to be said for being partners with them. Joe, I wanted to ask you a question. You were talking about how you've innovated in different ways at the Newberry Club. What are some of the changes that have occurred as a result of the COVID epidemic, and how did you deal with all of that?
Well, first of all, I prepare for things that you never know is going to happen way, way in advance of them happening. I mean, that was number one. You know, when you work for so many companies that have gone bankrupt, when you have to live under different conditions that I had to live under, you learn how to protect yourself. By that I mean you learn how to save money so that when that rainy day comes, you can deal with it. So it never, believe it or not, psychologically, it never even affected me. It said, okay, maybe we can get a whole bunch of things done now around the club that may take us a year to do, but now since nobody's in the place, we can get done now. So we've got about a year's worth of stuff done in the facility in the 2-month period that we were shut down. It also gave me the opportunity to prepare for when the members came back, even though I didn't know the exact date. I assumed they're eventually going to get back. So the first thing I had to do is I had to do everything I could to make the environment as safe as possible because I knew people would be afraid. So, the first thing I did was I looked up, I said, what does NASA do? NASA can't have germs and viruses in their environment. What do they do? And I checked them out, and they have ultraviolet lighting in all of their air conditioning systems. So I had UV lighting put in through all of the centers so that the air, nothing would be able to live in the air. And that was the first thing that we had to do. Then we had to start finding things like, how do you protect the equipment? So that's where we got the electronic sprayers, so we could put a static electricity on the equipment so that nothing could be transmitted through the equipment. Then you had to buy the products that you need to use for clean. So we got all those things set up. I mean, I found the electrostatic cleaning products. There were 6 55-gallon barrels in the United States. I got 4 of them.
Wow.
Because I was the first one to start checking it all out and contacting the companies that had it. So we prepared the physical plant, that way. As far as staffing, which is, became another issue for a lot of people. There were a lot of people in my staff that moved away, but none of my key people where I build everything from. I've got and you know this, Jeff, I got a number of employees been with me over 40 years, have been working with me. That's the basis of building out a team. And, I think like a lot of companies, trying to find staff to hire was challenging up through December. Then all of a sudden, it all changed in January. And we were able to start filling in all the holes that we had, in our scheduling. So we managed it pretty well. The members were great. I told the members, you got different choices you can make going through this. And I gave them one. I said, you can continue paying your dues during this time, of which I will use it to pay all the staff, which I did. I paid all the staff, their salaries, all the way through that period of time. Said, and we'll extend your membership for whatever period of time you do it. So the members were great, too. I mean, there were a number that canceled because they were scared. They were, there are some people who are still very scared today. So hopefully someday they'll get past it. But we built everything, and we're building everything right back up again. So we've been fortunate.
What's interesting is that, we went through similar things in Meldon Law, because when COVID hit, everybody was freaking out. What's going to happen? There's no cars on the road. We do personal injury. There's no, there's not going to be any more business for us, and what's going to go on. And I was in a mastermind group, and I was with 25 other law firms from around the country.
Right.
We met in Atlanta a month or two after COVID started, and everybody said, this would be a great opportunity to real scale up. Why don't we all double down, put in, do everything we can to, increase our business and move forward. Sure. And it's a little bit like what you were talking about, Norman Vincent Peale and the idea of, positive thinking.
Yeah.
Is that, when it's adverse for everybody else, if you get the right mindset, you can navigate.
You look for solutions. That's what you do. You look for solutions. You don't dwell on the problem. You look for solutions and how you can move forward. That's what you do. That's what I have to do, and we'll continue to keep doing it.
Well, it's terrific. That what you've done. I followed. I've seen some of your TV commercials where you're encouraging people come back in the gym. It's safe. You need to give people comfort in order to return, because right now Gainesville is a very healthy town. It's a very scientific town as far as people trying to follow the rules as far as safety. And it was, I think, a challenge to get the message out to the members. Okay, we got this under control. Come on back.
Yeah. And it worked for a lot of people. There were still a lot of people who no amount of logic was going to play a role in them doing anything. But that was okay. And over time, more and more of the people, came back. And, now we're just back to almost normal.
How many members do you have now?
We've got about 25,000 members now.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. And for those of you that don't know, you have at least 3 locations, I know.
Yeah, we have the Women's Center up in Thornbrook Village. We have the Tioga Town Center, and then our main facility on University.
And I was at, I think it was your 40th anniversary a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, well,
and
about 4 years ago.
4 years ago, a couple of years. That's a couple.
Yeah.
and it was really cool because everybody showed up, and
great.
it was like, okay, and we haven't really touched the surface. I could go on with you for at least another hour. However, we're going to be wrapping it up. I got to get you back because you're an old friend, and you really have inspired me in a lot of ways, and I love what you're doing. As far as the folks out there that want to get in shape, in a few words, can you tell them how to start?
Well, as far as getting back in shape, if you're not doing anything, get off the couch and start walking. I mean, that's the starting point. At a certain point, you have to go beyond that because you'll be able to walk around the world. So, at a certain point, you might want to increase the intensity. But if you ever want to come and check out the club, you're welcome to come in and try it. See if it's something that you could see doing in your life. No charge, no obligation for that. But I would suggest that not only do you get the cardiovascular exercise that most people think of, but you do have to get some kind of strength training, especially as you get older. Your strength is the thing that will make you deteriorate. Lack of strength make you deteriorate the fastest, make it so you can't stand up out of a chair. It can knock out your balance. I built 2 rehab centers. They're called Request Physical Therapy, one in the main center, one in the Tioga Center. And it's really taken people who've been injured, but a lot of people who just because they got older and didn't take care of themselves have lost so much strength that they can't carry on the normal functions in their life that they want to be able to carry on. So you need to find a way to do the strength training.
Yeah, so strength, flexibility, and balance all deteriorate as we get older, and you can fix it. So Gainesville Health and Fitness, give them a call or just stop by one of their 3 locations. Believe me, they're the top people, not only in Gainesville, but in the world. So you go there. Joe Cirulli and his team are incredible, and I would love to get some feedback from y'all after you go, and all of a sudden you get your health back on track and your lives going in the right direction.
Yeah, and if you go to ghfc.com, you can actually see a video of the centers. We got complete videos. They can learn about programming before they ever even think about coming into the center.
Well, thank you very much, Joe Cirulli from Gainesville Health. Our listeners and viewers, please follow up I promise it'll be the best investment you ever make in your life. And we're going to be back in 3 minutes on Meldon Law and Friends.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down. The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your fault.
No,
I am calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey!
This crazy
wait,
here,
honey.
this crazy lady, he might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky. We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal!
Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder of Meldon Law, and we've got another great couple of guests coming up. Last segment, we had Joe Cirulli from Gainesville Health, and now we have Helen Hayes and Lauren Federico here, and they're going to talk about ProjectConnect. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so who wants to go first here and talk a little bit about ProjectConnect?
I can go first. So ProjectConnect, we were founded actually in 2013. We are an aftercare service provider contracted through Department of Juvenile Justice. We serve at-risk youth anywhere from 11 years old until 21 years old, male and female. We help them get enrolled in school, look for jobs, obtain employment. We set them up with their traffic law and substance abuse courses, food handlers, anything that we can do to make them successful in the community. We link them with a career source. Go ahead, Helen.
Oh. So what we do is once we get a youth, whether they're on probation or if they're coming out of a program, which the terminology is post-commitment probation, what we do is we bring them in and we do an intake on them. And during the intake, it's a pretty extensive process where we find out a lot about the youth. We find out about their needs. We find out, their living arrangements, their schooling. So we have 4 domains that we cover. The first one is education, which is the most important. So without a good education, the doors will not open for them. So we determine, is this youth able to go back into the normal school setting, or do they need to be into like a private type of school? Or if they're 16 and up, we can go ahead and put them in the state college where they can get their GED, which is a high school diploma. They'll just go through the adult GED education. Once we do that and we make that determination, then we also have other programs like the Navigators programs where they will get a scholarship once they get a high school diploma. Then they will move on to a technical college where they can go into like HVAC, mechanic. There's 13 of them that they can qualify for that they will be paid for free, and they will get paid $270 a week as a paycheck. And then they'll also have a mentor, they'll have a case manager. And once they graduate, then they will be placed into a full-time job.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
How did you all get into this?
So we are part of Twin Oaks Juvenile Development, and we have commitment programs all in the Panhandle of Florida. So we wanted to do something with aftercare. We wanted to do something with kids that are in the community, transitioning them from residential back into the community. So that's when ProjectConnect came aboard.
Now you say transitioning them from residential back into the community. That means they had to be taken from the home because of circumstances that were unfavorable for their development.
Yes. So they obtained new law charges, anything like that, and they were committed to these residential facilities.
Okay.
So while they're in the residential facilities, they're in school, they're receiving counseling services, and then we transition them back into the community.
So this is a lot of the students that you work with have gotten into the juvenile justice system.
They're all in
Correct.
the system.
They're all in there.
All of them.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
have either one of you been a juvenile probation officer?
I used to be a contracted juvenile probation case manager, which is kind of the same thing. The first agency I worked for, we were probation officers and aftercare, so we kind of did a little bit of both.
Well, there's a secret that nobody knows. Very few people know. After I graduated law school, I was a juvenile probation officer
darn.
for 1 year,
Wow.
and I worked in the inner city in Cleveland, Ohio.
Nice.
And they gave me a badge and a gun, and
Oh, Lord.
I didn't. I gave him back the gun because I said nothing good would happen with the gun, but at least not with me. But yeah, I got to experience a lot at a fairly early age as far as the conditions that people were living under, because I had to do the investigation and report to the judge what the circumstances were that the kids were living under. And you can imagine in a large area like Cleveland, some of the kids getting in trouble were from middle class neighborhoods, but a lot of them weren't. And we had to figure out ways to report to the judge. And my approach is always come up with some positive suggestions rather than just put them in the juvenile home. And a lot of that still resonates, because I've always tried to support helping kids at risk, and it sounds like you're on the forefront of doing that.
We are. Every year, you know, we try and do Christmas, Thanksgiving, any youth that so in our area, we serve circuits 5 and 7. And we have
Circuits
about
5 and 7. So like Daytona's in Circuit
Daytona,
7.
yes.
Ocala's Circuit 5,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Okay.
that's the North
So,
Central
I know
area.
that because I'm a lawyer.
We were testing you.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's the North Central area. Northeast area is circuits 3, 4, and 8, so Gainesville, Jacksonville, and then we have the Panhandle, 1, 2, and 14, and that's considered Northwest. But here in North Central, every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, we try and do as many donations as possible. We reach out to our community partners. We get turkeys. We get monetary donations so we can purchase turkeys for kids that don't have Thanksgiving dinners. We try and get Christmas gifts for every single one of our kids that we serve. We have about, I think last year we bought about 95 presents for our kids. So we try and do as much as we can. We want to grow that. We want to do back to school, you know, backpacks, and, you know, if a youth needs a ride to a job and they don't have transportation, we want to be able to buy them a bicycle, work clothes, school clothes, hygiene products, anything like that. So
You know, it's amazing. People don't realize what it takes sometimes to get a young person in a position where they can succeed.
right.
Little things that we take for granted oftentimes are obstacles to kids succeeding. I can't get to
Right.
work. You know, I don't have health products I need. I'm starving to death, and I can't, you know, concentrate because all I can think about is where am I going to get some food.
Yeah.
Right.
And so those are some of the things that you guys deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Daily, yes. So we do more than just transition services. You know, we try and make sure our kids are taken care of, and if they're not, we give them resources around the community. We reach out to our community and give them what they need. So
Now, can you tell me a little bit about what you do day to day, each of you? Tell us, like, what are the things you're focused in on a daily basis?
I'll let Helen do that. She is in the field working with the kids every day. I'm the supervisor, so let's start with Helen.
You see how she does me here?
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
that she's directing here. Okay, so on the day-to-day, we have to see our youth once a week. And a lot of times we'll see them more than once. It all depends on what's going on with them. So we'll go and do a visit, whether it's at home or if we go and see them in school. So we'll address school. So I go and see them at school. I pull their grades. I talk to their deans. I talk to them, find out what's going on. What do they need? Do they need a tutor? So we have some really good life coaches that we're going to hit upon. One of your employees, Belinda, we love her.
Love.
And we
Yeah,
do love
Belinda's
her.
amazing, isn't
Oh,
she?
gosh, she is
I mean,
so
she's
amazing.
she's raising 4 kids. She's taking care of her mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
She's taking care of this, and she does a great job at work. It's like I respect mothers so much. Okay.
That's a whole full-time job, but yeah, she's been a blessing since she's come on board with us. And like we did like a clothing drive because we had kids that had no clothes and they didn't want to go to school. They were like, they don't want to be made fun of, they don't want to be bullied, and so we did a big clothing drive, and Belinda was a big part of that. She really helped us get a lot of school clothing to be able to give to these kids that they had something nice to wear, you know. And so once we're in the school, we find out what's going on. A lot of times there's behavioral issues because they don't have any hygiene products. They don't, and I carry so much stuff in the back of my car. If you looked at it right now, I have boxes of food because they are hungry, like what you brought up. And we work really closely with the school and other partners in the community, and they have bags of food that they give the kids every day to take home, but we try to like conceal it in a bag so that people don't make fun of them because they don't have food, you know, and you should never be embarrassed about, you know, being poor, okay? Because I think we've all been there wondering where our next meal is going to come from, you know? But kids seem to have a tendency of making fun of others. So we try to like get around that, and then once we find out what's going on with that youth, then we start doing the work and start setting them up with, you know, certain entities to try to alleviate some of that stress that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Other youth, we go into their home. And of course, you know, they don't, a lot of them don't want you to come to their home because they're embarrassed on what their home life looks like. And we go in very non-judgmental, okay? We try to make them, you know, understand it doesn't matter, you know, as long as you have a place to lay your head and, you know, you got clean clothes to wear, all of the outside stuff doesn't matter at that point. You try to kind of help them out to understand, okay, you're here, but you can move yourself all the way up with hard work, you know. And so basically that's what we do. Or like I get calls in the middle of the night, a kid is in crisis, they need someone to talk to, they just need you to be their sounding board. You know, there's so many different things that happen on a daily basis.
You know, it must be very challenging because a lot of these kids have fairly low esteem because they
Yes.
haven't had the parental support that, and that's why they wind up getting in trouble. How do you deal with, you know, trying to encourage them to have better self-esteem and want to achieve goals that they may not even think are possible?
Well, the first thing I always tell our kids is that I always tell them, you matter, okay? And I just want to bring up something that I am so grateful to you for, is that you have no idea, I don't want to get emotional, the impact that you had on those kids when you provided those tickets. Those kids have never seen a game in their life. I mean, were they not chatterboxes all the way home? And I'm talking about weeks later. Every time we bring up Gators football, those kids just, their eyes light up. They are so excited. So we are so grateful to you
Yes.
for what you did. I mean, these kids, especially that one youth, he was sitting right beside you that day. He went on and on and on and on and on. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to move to Gainesville. I'm going to go see Mr. Jeffrey. And I'm like, wait a minute, don't go to his house, you know.
He could come to my house. Anyhow, because Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, one football game a year, we get 100 tickets.
Wow.
And next year, we're going to do it again with your group as well as others and encourage young kids, like you say, who have not experienced it. We take that stuff for granted. Like, we want to go to a football game, we figure out a way how to go. For a lot of these kids, that's not even an option. And they once they experience certain things, they may see a different side of life that's a little happier, a little more exciting. They can brag about it to their friends. I got to go to a Gator game, and that matters when you're trying to build self-esteem. We're going to take a quick break right now for 60 seconds, and then we're going to be back on Meldon Law and Friends.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I am Jeffrey Meldon, and I want to welcome our guests Helen Hayes and Lauren Federico. We had a very interesting first half of the interview here, and I want to thank you very much for coming in. I know our office has had a blast working with you. Helping children who are in need, at-risk children, is really one of my passions. I've always felt like the opportunity to take a kid at 11, 12, 13, 14 years old and make a difference in their lives is one of the greatest gifts we can give to them as well as to ourselves, because there's nothing more gratifying than seeing success. You're obviously going to be dealing with some kids that just don't get it the first time, and you may have to keep coming back and back again and never give up. and for good reason, because they haven't been used to success in their lives. What are some of the success stories you can share without using names about kids who have really turned their lives around?
Well, you had one just recently,
Which one?
the one from St. Augustine. CB.
Okay. I know. So we have to use initials because
Yeah.
we can't be like using
That's
names.
right. I said
so I had
without
to think,
using names.
because I have a large caseload, so I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I had a youth where he was struggling, really struggling, and he ended up having to go to a program, and then he came out.
When you say a program, you mean
A residential program. So what happens was he committed a type of crime, and then the judge sentenced him to go to a program for, I think it was like 12 months.
So it's like a residential program. The kids look at it like going to jail.
Right. But some of these programs that they have are very therapeutic. So they work on behaviors and things like that versus not focusing on the crime itself. So this individual, he needed a lot of therapeutic counseling because he had these type of behaviors that warranted him to have to be somewhere for him to get his wake-up call. So he got out, and then he came out, and he was just like, what do I do now? Because like the honeymoon phase is over. Once you get out, you're like, I'm free, you know? Then they start sitting around. So if you don't get to them immediately, too much time is going by, then they're going to start falling back into their old patterns of behavior. So once I got a hold of him, okay, I don't know if that's the right terminology, but I did get a hold of him. And so we talked about, okay, you have your high school diploma. Where are we going from here? So he worked really hard. He had some issues with his license to get his fees paid off, and then we got him into the technical college, where he started his career in welding and in HVAC. So he started working really, really hard to get into that program where it paid him $270 a week, which is probably what he would have made if he was working like at a fast food place or something. But it placed him in an environment with other adults, which is a more positive reinforcement environment than to be going somewhere else where he had to worry about, am I going to slide back because now I'm seeing my other friends? So we had to surround him and say, you know, you need to ask yourself this question. If what I'm about to say or do, is it going to help me or is it going to hurt me? So you need to keep that in the back of your mind in every decision as you're moving forward as an adult. So he got in, he's doing very well, and we stay in touch with him. And the kids always still call back. Even after we discharge them, they still have your number, and they still call you. We still reach out to them, how you doing, do you need anything? So just because we discharge them successfully from our program doesn't mean that we cut off everything with them. We continue to follow them as they're moving through.
You know, it's amazing because you can actually do very, very well if you have a background in a technical skill. You know, being a plumber now or HVAC,
Yes.
a lot of those people make a lot more than teachers do. And that, you know, nowadays it's hard to find anybody, you know, to even show up at work because everybody's so busy.
Right.
So it's a great time for young kids to get tactical training where they can live a very, you know, comfortable middle-class life and be proud of their achievements. And I know Santa Fe has a lot of programs right here in Gainesville. Do any of your students ever go to the programs at Santa Fe after they finish up?
No, I don't. My youth are I cover Putnam, Flagler, and St. John. So I'm in Circuit 7 because this is Circuit 8, I believe, right? So I work very closely with St. John's River State College in Palaca and also in St. John's County.
Right. So those schools have technical programs
They
as well.
do. They do.
A lot of folks that are listening, if you know kids that are kind of lost, these technical programs at the what we used to call junior colleges or community
Right.
colleges are amazing, and I would highly encourage you to reach out to young people and maybe get them interested in what they can do. They may not want to go into an academic program, but they may thrive in other settings.
You're correct about that, because a lot of kids are just not ready to go to the normal college environment. So therefore, a technical college is a perfect fit for them. So you get them in there where you're working with an instructor, you have a lot of hands-on. Some kids are not academically, ready for sitting there going through the school books, but that hands-on, and that's where our mentorship program comes in. We reach out into the community. So what I'll do is I'll go and look at all the different shops in Putnam, St. John's, even if it's going to help someone over here in Gainesville. And I'll ask them, are you willing to take on this kid? He may need to do some community service hours, or he needs to find out what he wants to do in life. And so if they take that child under their wing, okay, and they start working with them, teaching them how to change a tire, let me teach you how to change, the oil in a car. And then that youth is like gravitates towards that, saying, oh yeah, I like doing this. Then now what you've done is the people in our community, all the businesses that we reach out to, and we can always use more, they may just offer them a part-time or a full-time job as they're working their way through school. And that's another thing that where we're falling short a little bit, is that we need some more help in the communities to help us place these youth in some type of job placement, even if it's voluntarily at first, and let them prove themselves, which was what we all had to do as we went through life here. We had to prove ourselves into that job. So
does the state help with? You had mentioned, I think you can get salary like $265 a week or something for kids that are working.
So the state does not do that. What the Navigators program is, it's a federal funding, and it's a scholarship program, and it's only for the youth that are in Putnam and St. John's. So each circuit needs to reach out to their technical schools and their state colleges and find out what type of programs are available. You have to do your homework on that. So you got to get in there, and because there's money to be found, you just have to get out there and find it.
Well, I think it's really encouraging to find out that, number one, there are programs out there, and that you can actually inspire a young person to reach for the stars, at least in their own mind, by getting involved in something. They're making money, and I know when I got my first job, whatever money I took, it was actually, I started out as a lifeguard. I wasn't so good as a lifeguard. I was better as a juvenile probation. No, I'd stay up late at night during the summers because it was a summer job, right? And I'd stay up late with my friends, and then I'd have to show up at work at 7 in the morning, and I wasn't. I would fall asleep as a lifeguard. It was horrible.
Oh my goodness. I'm waving the flag. Jeffrey.
So anyhow. I think the idea of really getting kids involved in something where they see some benefit right away. Oh, I'm getting a paycheck. Oh, I'm in a new environment. I'm not being harassed by my friends. I don't have to be embarrassed. I can, wear a uniform. I can do this and be proud of myself. Makes all the difference in the world when you're talking about kids that have not had that experience in the home.
Yep, it sure does.
So what are some words of wisdom? We've got about a minute left here, and first of all, can folks contact you if they have at-risk kids, or do the kids have to come through the juvie system?
They unfortunately have to go through the juvenile system. But I mean, we do. I mean, Helen, for example, she has kids that are contacting her. They're not in the system at all, and Helen's helping.
Yeah.
We have a transition specialist up in Circuit 3 who's doing the same exact thing. He's recruiting kids from the streets and just getting them enrolled in whatever we can.
So how would they get a hold of ProjectConnect?
They could go to our website. It's ProjectConnect.org. Or they can get in contact with me. My email address is on the website. It's lauren.federico@twinoaksfloridafl.org.
Well, that's great. And Helen, I want to thank you and Lauren for joining us today. It's been great, and I'm really inspired by the work you do, and Meldon Law will continue to support everything that Project Connect does.
Thank you for having us. Thank you so much for your support.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. And this is the end of this edition of Meldon Law and Friends.